Paintball nerd.
Today's guest on Paintball Nerds Fun 5 started playing paintball in 2004. He went pro in 2010 with the Ironmen. He's played for Dynasty, Impact, Saints. He now plays for AC Diesel. Over in Europe, he's played for the Russians and the ML Kings. He's co-founder of Tigerwear. He's co-host of the Spick Span show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Kyle Spicka. What's up, Kyle?
That was a great intro.
Yeah, well, that's you. You're great, right?
Thank you. yeah. How we doing?
How does it feel, man? How does it feel to be one of the greats? Do you know that you are?
Thank you. It's a little surreal. I feel like I'm always just working to keep climbing. So as a little kid, this is where I wanted to be, and now I want way more. So
yeah. And I mean, you certainly, I'd say that you have it more than what most kids dream of. And it's important, Kyle, to celebrate those things. You got to take a moment, smell the flowers. If a wealthy team owner wants to build a strong team, I think he makes 4 phone calls, right? And you're one of them. Yeah. How the fuck did you get there? How did that happen?
I think that a lot of the team owners or captains and players know what I'm capable of, not just on the field, but off the field, as far as strategy, tactics, understanding the game, and also just kind of like mediating and bridging players and coaches, and just helping people get along and figuring out what helps guys play better. And I think that's like a strong suit of mine that is not really seen to a lot of the main public, but that's kind of where I've found, along with that, I'm still also a good player, that definitely helps. Because originally there was also some players in talks for the AC Diesel situation this year, but I had talked to Mark personally, and he told me that he had talked to J-Rab separately and Mouse separately. And I was like, did they know that you were talking to me as well? And they're like, no. And I was like, well, let me see if I can make some calls here. And able to kind of help facilitate that whole thing. Was, just by being, just by being connected and talking to guys who, whether it's industry or players or coaches, even when Silos parted ways with Damage, I had been talking, both Ryan and I talked to Tom Ford pretty closely, and I reached out to Tom and I was like, hey, Silos is available. He's a great guy. We would actually love to have him on Diesel, but there's just no room right now, especially with all the players that we had just picked up. I think he'd be a great addition for your team and help facilitate that, which was great for Silos, because he's also, one of our Tigerwear sponsored players, and then a great guy and a great player that I think has kind of been underutilized. So it was cool to see that work out for him and their team,
Yeah.
I'm so passionate about the strategy and logic part of the game. I was watching I was watching the interview with Colt that you did, and I didn't know Colt before I came to Texas and started playing against them. And then we worked pretty closely with a lot of the stuff that we were doing. Obviously it didn't work out as well for us as it did for them. But on that interim part of the week before the tournament, I was giving him stuff that I had found as far as bounce shots, different type of strategy thing, and just sent that all to him. And then seeing him after was kind of cool. And Colt gave me a lot of respect and gave me some props, which was cool. And it was great to see some of that stuff be applicable, and then also work and have them win out, which is cool. I get a lot of fulfillment from that too. Even the coaching side of it. I'm now mainly just coaching divisional teams and not really doing as many clinics for newer players.
Yeah, I remember Colt talking about how he admired your IQ, and I always kind of, in my mind's eye, I know that you were a smart paintball player, right? But I didn't know necessarily that you were known for your IQ. You know, it was more like an attacking thing that I recognize you as. So it's interesting to hear that, you know, that you're interested more so in the leadership side and breaking things down and putting the game together. Do you see yourself, like, when you picture and imagine like your career long term, do you think like, I'm going to be doing this, playing this game for several more years, or do you picture a career in coaching in the future?
I feel like for so many years, I keep saying like, probably another 3 to 5, but I've said that for like the last like 5 years. So we'll see. But definitely like.
How old are you?
I'm 32. I'm about to be 33 in July.
Okay. Well, I think you got at least 7 more years, right?
Yeah. If we're looking at like Ryan and Yosh and Oliver and these guys.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And you're in better shape than those guys, right? So you can definitely do
it. Yeah. Definitely work out more. But exactly, yeah, 100% I will be coaching after. Like even if it was for some reason, like if it was tomorrow, you know, or if for some, you know, I almost like, I think about it, I've thought about it more so within like the last like year, that if there was like you know, a big opportunity to go coach for a team or a pro team, it would be like a tough decision that I would have to like make, which would be a big changing point in my career. But I'm pretty passionate about coaching right now. I love it. Like I get a ton of fulfillment from it. It's like, it excites me to try to like almost, you know, now I feel, you know, there are a lot of these guys like these in that upper like 30-40% of the league that are like good veteran elite players were experts at the field. We're experts in professional paintball. But now with coaching, I feel like I'm have everything down as far as like the probabilities, what to do in certain situations, up bodies, down bodies, how the game's working out. And I have all those down packed, but now I'm trying to almost invent new ways to play the game, or new ways to think about strategy and like, you know, deceptive techniques, or like different ways to kind of like play the psychological factor and mental game, which I think is the biggest part to your advantage once you're, you know, not even just pro, but these divisions, like those top 4 teams, like everyone's pretty much as good as everyone else. It's like you just obviously have to win all those points that you should win and play good paintball. But then like, what if the other team is doing the same thing? Then it comes down to who's making smart decisions, who's tricking the other team, who's doing something unexpected and capitalizing on it. And that's a part of the game that I think that is like really fascinates me right now.
So what is an example? Like I want to say like throwing a pot at a bunker and creating the illusion that you're on the other side of it is one, but I'm sure you've thought much deeper than that.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I saw something. I don't want to give away like too many of my secrets.
Tell us your secrets, Kyle.
But, you know, being willing to, you know, sometimes I'll like when I'm coaching these other teams, I will be like, hey, in the middle of a match, I'm like, we have to do this play, and there's a good chance we might lose this point. But if we win it, great. But it's going to give us longevity to win the match, because we need to kind of change their thinking. And so whatever that may be, like it's like play aggressive or play defensive. Like if I have a certain way that I like my team to be playing, throwing that like curveball in mid-match allows me to come back to that without them start like fine-tuning. Because you see that a lot right now in paintball, is like when a team starts winning, the other team adjusts and comes back. So it's like, how do you capitalize and keep staying with that run? Or like, I'm okay with giving you a point, or in more specifically in that point, giving you a player as a distraction, just to kind of like offset your tempo of like understanding the rhythm of how I'm having my guys play. And that's like a big thing that I've kind of been exploring and focusing too on like what you have to give up and just understanding like the intent and purpose of each point and making sure all the guys are kind of on the same page, or understanding like how everybody's playing the field and how can I get that little like extra edge by changing a player. I mean, this is something we could obviously talk about for hours to get like into the nitty gritty of it.
Right. But essentially what you're saying is there's moves, like singular moves or possible entire game plans that you have in your mind to change the psychological aspect of the game in the eyes of your opponents.
Yeah. And like,
that's high level, bro.
I'm pretty confident. I don't want to like speak as far as like the pro coaches, but as far as like current pro players that are coaching teams, I think that Marcelo and I are hands down the best in the world right now. And that's like one thing I'm like pretty confident about, and it's cool. And I think Marcelo would attest to this as well. Like, we get to play or coach against each other in a lot of different events throughout the year, whether it's like BKI sanctioned events or like the Mike Hinman's WCPPL league. When we match up against each other, it's really cool because we both have the data of each other's teams. And then at that point, it becomes like quadruple reverse psychology battle that we're playing, because we have an idea of what the other person might throw in a situation. And so we're like, well, is he going to do something else, or is he going to stick to that? So we always have like really good matches, and we nerd out about it. So,
dude, this is the first time I've ever had a conversation about something like this. Normally it's just like win every point that you can, right? I've never, and I don't know how frequently you've talked about it publicly, but it's, that's 3D chess right there. Like, paintball is already chess, but adding that extra element of, I might do something to change the way you think about what I'm going to do next. And it's not so much about this point or this game. It's about what's going to happen next, or when we play you in the finals. That's some, I love that, dude. I love that. That's
it comes down to a lot to like scouting. You want to scout other teams and learn their tendencies and see what you can do with it. And the biggest thing is like, is adjusting. And obviously, it becomes a lot harder when you have guys that are making a lot of the little mistakes. It's like, if a guy's, putting his gun down when he's supposed to be like shooting the lane, then it's hard to work with that. So you definitely like, obviously having good players for sure helps.
You need everyone executing at the right level, right?
Yeah, at least to like 80% of what you would need. Like, you can't miss like open shots, or like guys running out to a corner with a guy in the 50 brick, like looking at him and miss it. Like that obviously kind of throws a curveball in what you're trying to execute. But when they're doing basically the things that need to get done, there's I think there's a lot of room for really cool stuff to be done.
So when you're playing on the field, or when you're coaching, do you look at your opponent like, okay, I know that this guy has these tendencies, and this guy has a problem with his left hand, and this guy can't dive unless his gun in his right hand? Do you break each player down that you're against and kind of pinpoint their weaknesses?
Not too much. I tried to give and how I play, as well as like when I'm talking to my players, unless there's obviously a player doing like an extreme amount of damage, I want to shut that guy down. But I'm mainly looking for their, like, what do they default to? If we shut this down, what are they going to default to? And then if I can make a great estimated guess going into that following point of what they're doing, and then we execute it, it's like that's like where the nail in the coffin is usually on those, like those crucial points where it's like 0.3 or 0.4, where you can either, the team's going to bring the match back, or you're going to go on a little run. If you can make a good estimation of what they might do, and then you shut that down, it really deflates the team. Also, it gives you a huge advantage, especially if you shoot that player that you were expecting them to adjust to. And I played like that a little bit too. I don't really, I can gunfight obviously, but my whole thing too is like, I don't want to engage in that 50-50 situation as much unless it's like you need to. So I basically am trying to look for like other avenues. Like, so if, you beat me to a spot or you're in the snake with me, like, I'm going to just leave you for a bit and then try to work on the other players and if you focus so much on just engaging with me, maybe holding the wire or something, that allows me to just like, you're not really playing. And this is a thing I try to tell like a lot of my players when they're coaching is like, if that guy's in the snake and you're in the snake, it kind of cancels out. So if that guy's on the tape and it's like a 4-on-4 and he's just waiting on the tape, but you're inside and you're playing and you're talking, it's almost essentially like a 4-on-3 because that guy is not doing anything. He's just waiting on the tape for a move that you already know you're not going to make. If that makes sense.
For sure, man. It's
so
like
thinking about that a lot. Yeah.
So let's talk about Tigerwear. I mean, this is an exciting new company that you've made. It's taken off, and it's you and Mouse, right?
Yeah, me, Mouse, and then we have another business partner. His name's Lamb. He's actually he's been in the apparel and merchandising industry for a while in Los Angeles, and a good buddy of mine I've known for about 10 years. And he came out to play paintball with us and saw like what we're doing and told him a little bit of like the nostalgia that went into headbands, and he's like, I can make these, I can help you. So he's kind of like the brains behind the scenes for everything. And then just kind of started steamrolling from there.
Who are Tigerwear's official athletes?
So I'd say our main guys right now are Corey Hall with NYX, Silos Cortez with Revo, Alex Rodriguez, who's with us, myself, Mouse, obviously, Justin Rabikoff. And I think that's like our main core guys. And then we have like a couple guys that, give us some support and will wear the stuff, like Blake Yarbrough will rock it here and there. Damien from Dynasty as well. Dalton. So a couple guys here and there. Jesse Stevens with X Factor. Cole Roberts just bought a bunch of gloves from him, so it's cool to see that. So we're slowly starting to like kind of spread, and then obviously the biggest one too right now is that we have a divisional team that plays WCPPL and MXL, and they just won Premier, actually. Super nice. Dominant performance, 5-0 finish in the finals. But they were wearing, they're called TJ Bastards.
Yeah,
like Tigerwear jerseys, everything. Yeah. So I coach those guys there. Yeah. They're awesome. I love those guys, and we've been building up with them. So they're kind of like our factory team right now. Really support a lot. Every single one of the guys has it, especially the owner. Hector has been like, I've had a relationship with them for 2 years. Corey Hall also actually plays on the team with me. And then Mouse coaches them some weekends when he's free, as well as me. So we have like a pretty nice, like solid camp going there.
No wonder they're killing it,
Yeah.
So Kyle, dude, over the past over a decade, you've been building these amazing memories as a professional paintball player. You've traveled the world, right? You've been everywhere. Tell us about your most memorable moment in paintball.
I would say, it has to be that 2015 World Cup with Dynasty, where it was like, I think it's like the #1 paintball video on YouTube. When it came down to that last, few seconds against Houston Heat, when we were up 4-3, They were looking to tie it, and I was able to shoot Greg right before he hit the buzzer. That's like, I don't know if that, I'm looking for another moment to surpass that one, but I don't know if I'll get that. But that was definitely like hands down the best moment.
There was a Yeah, that's a good one. There's another one with
Yeah.
you on Dynasty where you run. It's like seconds left, and you run out to the snake corner. Tyler goes up the middle. Oliver follows him, and you come back around and then grab the flag and hang it with like a second left. I'm not sure if that
Yeah.
was the finals though. What game was that?
I think it, I don't know if it was the finals. I think it was the semifinals. We had like, I remember that was with Infamous. We had like 2 games like that with Infamous, and that was like in that 2013, 2014 area. And then we even had like another crazy game with them in 2014 at World Cup when we got relegated, and they did as well. And we had that same situation in the finals, went into overtime, stalemated in overtime, and went to one-on-ones. So we had like a spurt for like really insanely crazy games with them. But yeah, those were some other really crazy moments as well too.
Well, dude, those are the moments in X Ball that people wait for. Like you blow out a team, mercy rule. It's like so what? Like they had it. They had it from the beginning, and it's just this other team just got their faces kicked in. Like great, you know. But when the tension builds point after point after point, or there's a little bit of a comeback and now it's tied up, and then enough there's enough time for one more point. Those are the moments in paintball that are the best. So what does it feel like, Kyle, to be in that moment and be triumphant in that moment?
Man, I would say like it's like it's almost like a high. Like
Yeah,
you can legitimately like feel this type of like aura or energy, like just exploding off of you, and it's like it's so hard to explain. Just like an extreme release of like serotonin or dopamine in that moment. It's like
totally.
getting something that is like unimaginable. And I think that's why our game is so great and so addicting at that. It's like, if you go one, I think like the pain of paintball plays a factor into it because that's what like gets the adrenaline going. Um, Otherwise, it would just be like laser tag, and that gets a little bit old. But what I think, I've read into like some psychology of what makes like a really good video game, and it's like it's like extremely hard, but it's like not too hard that every once in a while you get like a little taste of winning, and that's what keeps you coming back. And I think that's similar in paintball, that it's so hard to win, especially at the pro level. So um, you spend a lot of time losing, unless you're a dynasty the last 2 years. But
You're true.
you spend a lot of time losing, and that sucks. It's like it's definitely difficult. So when you finally do get that like little taste again, like how difficult it was to achieve. And I think that's what's like so gratifying for it. And it's a kind of a little bit, outside of just paintball. I think that's lost a little bit right now with the new era of technology and everything. Is like, you're trying to get that instant gratification. I mean, like, if what really break it down, I also think that that's why only like the veterans are staying on top right now, is because it's a big mental game where I think that not it's hard to say because like a lot of the younger players and just individuals these days kind of grow up with having like instant access to everything. You're not like having to make an extreme amount of sacrifices or focus, leading up to a tournament or like in that whole year or whatnot. You're just like, you do whatever you want to do during the whole week, and then you get to the paintball field and then you play. And then when you go off you're like joking around or looking at your cell phone or, you know, whatever, you're not like completely full 100% focused in that your craft. And I think that that little bit is a big reason why these veterans and these more experienced players that are older understand what it takes to like really perfect and be an elite expert in your craft. It is like an extreme amount of discipline and focus and putting things off to the side and be willing to like go through that journey of really being great at something versus like, oh, I worked hard for like 3 days. I should be like good now, right? And I think that, you know, translates to a lot of outside of just paintball. You know, I saw an article about tennis was the same thing with those 4 main heavy hitters that were staying on top for a while. It was like similar situation too.
I think it's an American problem, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Like in America, we want everything now. We want to take a pill and we want to lose weight. You know, we want to do a 7-minute abs. You know, we want everything instantly. So I definitely agree with you on that. That I think that the newer generation has a lower attention span, and they're less likely to put in the work necessary to be great. Not good, great. What I'll add to that is there's ancient knowledge in paintball that can only be obtained by playing in the woods. And it can only be obtained by playing these weird types of fields that aren't mirrored and things like that. And I think that's another reason that the veterans thrive. And obviously we're talking specifically about Dynasty, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that those guys have like ancient knowledge that you only learn in certain parts of paintball that don't exist anymore, that lend to winning on the X-Ball format.
Sure.
You know, but what do I know, dude? I'm just a nerd, right? So, but that's what I think.
There might be something to it. And Ryan always makes fun of me because I don't like playing in the woods.
Yeah. Well, it's scary. You can't see anything. It's like, you know, nothing's mirrored. There's weird angles that come in. People shoot through cracks. But knowing those little tricks is valuable.
Sure. Yeah. No,
so who's your favorite who's your favorite teammate, Kyle? Of all time? You have to pick Ryan.
Of all time. Man, that's so hard.
I mean, you've played with amazing people, so yeah, I imagine it's hard to pick one. You can pick a few, dude. Pick a few.
I would say, like, if I was to say, like, currently it's Mouse right now, just because we kind of like have a good balance of where, you know, he helps me where I lack, like getting me fired up, and then I can kind of help him with, like, you know, the level-headed stuff or the strategy aspect. But you know, I would say Brandon Short, Dalton Vanderbilt, Alex Frazier, and you know, also Justin Rabikoff is up there. Oh God, there's so many. Like Nick Laval, I loved playing with him. Always had good conversations. So yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'm the way I am. I always find like the best in people and like kind of gravitate and start to build bonds. Like I've already love some of my current teammates on AC Diesel that, you know, just met this year and just started to get to know. So I'm like, you know, just understanding people's personalities is like a good experience for me. But yeah, definitely
here's something like a little bit easier. So
okay,
your favorite player throughout time, they can be active or not active. Your favorite player of all time to watch, meaning like if you find out that this person is playing, you're more than likely going to go watch just to see what they do.
I would say like I have to give it to this player because of like over time of like when I was a kid, like barely getting started in tournament paintball to even like as I got into tournament paintball was Brandon Short. You know, he was someone that I had literally, you know, would get those like Faceful magazines from Barnes and Nobles, and I didn't have any posters or anything, so I'd rip those things out and then I would like put them all the way around my room, and a bunch of them were Brandon Short. And so like for me to end up moving out and having him as like a teammate and then end up living with him was pretty cool experience. And then like I would say, you know, honorable mentions definitely Archie,
Nope.
Malloy,
I'm just kidding.
Mouse. Yeah,
you're not gonna
Malloy
put your
too,
roommate on the list.
He knows he doesn't need enough credit. That guy's the GOAT. He doesn't need Ryan is the best right now. I would say, like, you know, out of like what everyone's done, and as far as consistency goes, like it's Ryan. And
yeah,
like down body situations, being able to react, like you put Ryan in a 2-on-3, like he's most likely going to pull it out. You know, he did it in that damage final match when he came around the Doritos side and brought that game back. Like, I don't need to give him too much credit. So he knows, and you know, he's on another different spectrum.
Yeah.
For him, it's like he's so great that he has to do something like flashy all the time to like even not be in that area. I will say though, I do want to give credit to last year. I think that like Archie played a game of paintball on the snake side that we've never seen before. Like I think that his style, and it wasn't aggressive. It was just extremely methodical. It was like he was two people in one on that side. Yeah, you know, like you could make it to your far spot and Archie will probably shoot you out and then beat your two, which I felt like with him on the field, it was like we were playing with six. So definitely like Archie's performance last year was some of the best paintball we've seen, especially on the snake side in, I don't know, all of tournament speedball.
Yeah, he's certainly incredible to watch. I mean, Ryan is obviously he's the greatest. But even when Dynasty was brand new, and Oliver just went back, I still thought Ryan was the best. Like even when Oliver was at his height, and Oliver brought a different dynamic to the field and to his team. But I still believed, like every time I watched Dynasty play, that Ryan was the best player I've ever seen on the paintball field. Brandon Short, dude. I remember when I was on the Ironmen when we were rebuilding, he was part of the rebuild crew. And do you know Dan? That Dan that lives in Palo Alto? It's a kid. He had a paintball field at his house.
Yeah, I've heard of him. I never met him.
Okay. So I don't know how it happened, but the Ironman ended up having tryouts at this kid's house. And Jules Foote was there, and like Goat and the Pitts brothers and E-Rob, and there's this kid Brandon that was there, and he had never played a tournament before, and he was fucking people up. He was running a clinic at that field. So we're doing this like running and shooting drill, and you know, Brandon, it was his turn. We're all in line, you know, running and shooting this target. And then Brandon did it, and he ran and started shooting, and the target was like, ding, 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 ding. It sounded like a bell going off. Like, and everyone was like, what? Like, who is this kid? And then he would do this drill where he slid into the snake, and then would pop out on balance on one knee and pop out the bottom of the snake. Like usually things that people do on accident. This kid was practicing it. And then he was foot racing people, and he would run, and as soon as he had him beat, he would turn around and finish the race backwards. So that was my introduction to Brandon Short, dude.
Wow.
And so like we brought him on immediately, and he changed my perception of what a small, fast guy could do. And yeah, so he was amazing, dude.
Yeah.
So Kyle, what's your most cherished paintball item?
Well, I have, it's funny. I would probably say it's this one old HK PB Fashion headband that I have, which is ironic because I think that that's like, my nostalgia for that is kind of what started all this with Tigerwear.
Yeah.
That, and then I have, like my first tournament team ever jersey still with gridlock, and it's like this big. It's very small. That jersey, I was like, I'll never sell. People always ask me for it. Like, you have to give me 10 grand for this thing. But same thing with that headband. The funny story about that headband, and I haven't even worn it in many years because I just like don't want to like mess it up. But I had this headband, and for me, like when I lived over on the East Coast, everything that I saw with with HK and PB Fashion and those like Ironmen guys, all this like the SoCal like lifestyle of paintball, like I felt like I was meant to be there, not where I was currently through high school, and then even into like right before I went to pro. And so that headband, I think, kind of gives me a lot of like nostalgia of like I had that headband before I moved out here, and when I got out here, I remember Brandon Ford, and this is before HK like blew up. He pressed PB Fashion on it for me, and that was when they're just like basically working out of their garage, and put the little HK heat press on the tail, and I was like, I'm part of the crew now. And so it was like that for me too was like a good part of my journey, and then also into all of this with Tigerwear. And I even like that was the funny thing that I remember our other business partner Lamb, when we took him to play paintball, and where this conversation started is I had that in my bag. He's like, can I wear a headband? He's like, can I wear this one? I'm like, absolutely not. I was like, I'd rather you steal like my whole gear bag and leave me that. And he's like, why? Like what's like so good? I'm like, it's just, and I think that's a big thing too of why what's so cool about the headbands industry nowadays is like, if you're making a good quality headband, like that's something we really focus on, that you can have that headband for years, and it's like the one like outlier that doesn't really fall into like a lot of teams sponsorship terms. So that's like that can be your individual style, and something that can carry with you through numerous different teams. And there's like so many stories behind that. So like Mouse and I talk about it now too, because we're typically having to put like the new headband on too to like obviously promote it, but we still have like our favorite headbands that we want to wear and go back to, but we know it's like not the best as far as like for business. But yeah, that's like a big thing for me. And like you could hold so many memories just with like a little piece of cloth, and it's even, it's funny. Many people don't know this, and I like have not really told anyone this, but I still have. The other day I had like an epiphany, but I still have like my baby blanket from when I was 2, and it's just a piece of cloth. It was like my mom was gonna make some pajamas, and I took it when I was 2, and then I just kept it forever, and I still have that.
Wow.
And I was like thinking about this the other night, and I was like, wow, this is like, it kind of translates into like the same theory in the way I look at headbands. Is like, there's like so much memory and like, different things that you have for a year just by like a piece of cloth, and it becomes priceless. A lot of other items you can just repurchase. It's like like AirPods or like a cord. Like you can buy all that crap if you lose it or, you know, whatever. But something like that, it's like headbands from 10 years ago. You're not going to find that. I mean, maybe, but so I think that's you know, something that's really fascinating to me.
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly magical garments, right? I mean, you're wearing these things on your head, right? And they're on your face, and you know, they're basically encircling your brain, right? The time around your brain, and then you sweat into these things, and the sweat that you produce is during moments of catastrophic failure or triumphant victory.
Yeah.
That is the sweat that's being poured into these things. And you can wash it, sure. You know, you can throw it in the wash and it's, you know, you have it all smelling nice, but it still bears those moments. It still carries those moments everywhere that you go. When you travel the world, that garment goes with you and holds the memories that you created traveling the world. So headbands are such an incredible piece of gear. I think that they're the most important gear. Like I know people that travel with their headwear in their carry-on bag just in case their bags get lost. With all, you know, thousands of dollars worth of paintball equipment, doesn't matter as long as they have their headgear. And then there's also guys with, you know, like Ryan Moorhead who just buy a bunch of like American flag ties and he doesn't care about headwear. But you know, I think for a lot of people, it's like this is my battle garment. You want to see something cool?
Yeah. Let me see. And I do like too that you said that about, you know, that being that the headband ties around your head, like where, you know, everything is psychologically, and you sweat through it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So this headband, this was before HK sold headbands. There was a group of kids that didn't really have teams at SC Village. But we would all play together on the weekends and we would all just kind of play with whatever teams we could get on for certain events, you know, if we could afford to go to events. And there ended up being a ton of these kids, like 30 kids that were all part of this movement called Hostile Kids. And that's when it started being called the HK Army. And by the way, I'm going to take credit for it. And I have before. I started calling it the HK Army. So that's how it came about. Noted right here in history. Doesn't matter though. So little HK there on the tail, and they had our last names. They added an S because they called me Barrows, but my last name is Barro. But so this headband, I don't wear it anymore because the HK thing is kind of coming off of it. But dude, I've played so many. Like I wore this into my pro career. I wore it under like dye headwear and stuff like that because that's what we had to wear. But I have a whole bunch of headbands over there that it's the same thing. I've created so many memories with them. Now I have another headband that Alex gave me that has meaning because he gave it to me with a special note and now it has meaning, you know? So it's one of the coolest things that like this, you know, evanescent garment can be so meaningful.
Sure. It was funny because mine is the same with that heat press, but it's a PB fashion on the front, and I wore it to death, and it's like starting to come off, but you can still see like the heat press mark that like vinyl materials come off.
Yes, the sticky
and
stuff.
I had some kid messaged me and was like, "Hey, how'd you get that off? Like I wanted to take mine off," and I was like, "What? Just no, send me. I'll buy that headband from you. Like, don't take that off. Like what's wrong with you?" It was funny.
It's crazy, like how much people like the perceived value. Like, when I was playing pro, I sold a Sandana for $1,000.
Yeah, it's wild. Those like those tree trunk Sandanas, like how much they're.
It was a tree trunk. Yeah, it was a tree. I took a picture like with Skemp flexing and wearing the wearing the head wrap, saying like, "Buy this head wrap," and. You know, that just goes to show you there's too much money in paintball. If someone can spend $1,000 on a headband, then we're doing okay, right?
Yeah. And I do. It is like the one, you know, unique thing that you can get, or you can wear. Because if you're on a team, like you have to wear sponsorship gear, you know, and then like to
Yeah.
have something that, you know, nobody else has is like, it makes you, you know, it makes you feel good. Like you have that
Definitely.
in the back of your head, like shit, I'm a big dog. Like I got nobody, not a lot of people got this thing, you know? And
Yeah.
so it's like, it's cool. Like if you know, maybe that $1,000 that they spend is like, helps them get to where they need in for the next 4 or 5 years, and as far as like
I hope
their
so.
career, you know, maybe it's like, I obviously does, it's like too much money, but it's like, you know, it's a placebo effect almost in a sense, like that really gives you value to carry you on mentally, then shit, who's to say that $1,000 is expensive then?
Yeah. I mean, a placebo effect is has a name because it actually does something, right? It's not fake. Like it does something to you, like psychologically and physiologically. Like the placebo effect works. So
Yeah,
even if it's fake and you put a perceived value on something, if that affects your game, then it's real. It's manifested into reality. So
sure.
headbands are magical. Go buy Tigerwear headbands.
Yeah,
So
he's got these guys
Kyle,
out too, which are cool.
oh, those are badass, dude. Those
Yeah, these are
like
our
like a
newest
Native
ones.
American type print.
Yeah, releasing these out at Texas. Pretty stoked on these. These are like coolest headbands I've made and like some of the coolest I've seen. So
I
pretty
like the
stoked
shape
on
of
these.
them.
Yeah,
I
we
like the
always do that
orange
with like
tags too.
our edges, like tailor it down so it's a little bit like skinnier, and then we do this like 3/4. I'm actually working on doing like a little like product detail sheet about why our headbands are what they are, because like we perfect these things and make sure that they're all good.
Is that terry cloth, cotton?
I believe so, yeah. And then we just started putting
Yeah.
these little like name brand labels on them.
How much is a Tigerwear headband?
They kind of range in prices. Like we do a lot of these like blank color ones. These are like cheapest ones at 85. And then our like top of the line ones, all these like um, different like printed ones, they range for like between 125, 150. And then we do these like custom ones where they're like multiple of
Cool.
our fabrics stitched into one. And then these are just all like one of one. So these typically are like 175 to 195, but there's, you know, you're the only one with that headband. So
So does Lamb sew all those, or you guys like outsource that activity?
we outsource it. Yeah. Which is like, I can't tell you how big of a pain in the ass it is. Cause like there's always like, I forget what the word is here, but like mistakes on the headbands or the way that they're sewn or issues like all the time. So, you know, that's a big reason too, why we don't like put a ton of stuff out, because we want to make sure like paying 85 to you know 150 plus for a headband is expensive, but we really like make sure that we go through the process that we're making a good product. And that if that means like, you know, we have to like discard 20 headbands out of 50 because they're like stitchings jacked up or whatever, then we'll do that, because we don't like, it is a lot of money you're paying for a headband, and we want our products to be something that you could have, you know, for 10 years, like what we were talking about, hold memories, keep it for, you know, decade. So that's like a big thing that we focus on, is like making sure that we find good individuals that are very talented in what they do and they care about and take pride in their work, not just like, you know, outsourcing it to some sew shop that doesn't really care like what the product is, like pay me the money and go away. So
Yeah.
that's
Well,
definitely the hardest part.
the ones that don't pass QC, you should just save those and like make more Frankenstein style ones that have like different patterns in them.
That's what we've been doing with some of those too.
Yeah, I like those a lot. So, Kyle, man, you've reached the pinnacle of the industry as a player, you're on your way as a coach, you're on your way as a business owner, well on your way. I mean, what advice would you give to someone who wants to follow your footsteps?
I think, you know, the biggest thing is one, like you have to be willing to discipline yourself and have the everything, like your success comes is mainly like mental battle. It's not really, you know, what your resources are, what you're given. Obviously that helps, but like where the real success comes from is like being able to like constantly work at something, fail, and like not let it get to you and not let it like make you give up. Because, you know, that's like same thing with these headbands, or, you know, reaching pro paintball, is that like if it was, you know, if it was easy, then everyone would be doing it, and then it would be worthless, whether that's your playing ability or, you know, your business. That's why like people are successful. So it's like, know that like even those little bit of times, like if it's like you're watching videos on how to make something, or how to like learn design, or watching paintball videos to get better at your craft, and you feel like, you know, maybe it's a waste of time, like think about when you're doing all that hard work and you're like, man, I don't know, that obviously you have to apply it, but like know that if you're doing a bunch of stuff that sucks, like most likely other people aren't doing it, and which is already going to give you an edge, you know, and it's just going to give you more confident, and you'll be more versed in whatever field that is, you know, your playing ability, your understanding of the game from a coaching standpoint, or, you know, making a product. You have to fail. Like the reason the success comes from the opposite of failure. It's like you need failure to have success. So like if you're comfortable with that, and know that like regardless of outside of paintball or business, like everything that you do is constant work. So like as soon as you accept that you're going to have that, that's when you can like really start to take off. And I know that firsthand with the Tigerwear stuff. We're still like every day I'm like, did I really do enough today? And then I'll talk to someone and they're like, what'd you do? I'm like, I made, you know, all these sheets from like different like art and stuff like that. And I'm like, but I didn't really like put anything up or do anything on the website. I'm like, how did you do all that? And so it's like good to like check yourself that, you know, every little small thing it'll add up.
And celebrate those little things that you're doing. Celebrate all the victories, because it's certainly, you know, what I've learned is it's the journey that shapes you into the person that you're trying to become. It's not the destination, you know. So you gotta take time to celebrate the failures. I think though,
I mean, that goes back to why it's so great winning those tournaments. Yeah. It's not because you're the best team right there. It's because you know how much you've done to reach that point. Yes, that's why it's so cherishable.
And what I'd add to that, Kyle, is you can't embrace the failures unless you love what it is that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like failing is not actually failing if you love something. It's just like, oh, that's another lesson. Boom, it's in the noggin, and I'm gonna remember it. So I think that's a key element, is loving something, and then if you love it, failures is just another, you know, it's just another lesson. That's all it is, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, like another thing to point out, that like a big thing that's been helping me as far as like the last year is like, you know, having some sort of a purpose of why you're doing everything, or like that. If you have that goal in your head, whether it's, you know, even if it's as small as like what's leading up to like going into your weekend of paintball, or it's like you want to win a tournament, or you want to build a business, all of everything that you do, you know, from your like micro activities to like what you eat, to like when you go to sleep, to like that will ultimately help guide you into this like narrowed focus that will just automatically cut out that level of procrastination. Because I think a lot of times, and I can attest to this completely, is like the procrastination comes because you don't really like know exactly what you want. So when you find that, like what it is that what you want, all the you will be guided automatically because you're like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time to watch these shows. I don't have time to eat this food that's going to make me want to go to sleep right after I eat it at lunchtime. You'll start to just like have this like narrow, like laser focus and self-discipline. It'll just come with the territory.
Simon Sinek wrote a book. You know who Simon Sinek is?
I don't.
He wrote a book called Start With Why. And like he talks about how great companies like such as Apple start with, you know, why they're making the product and then do everything else based on that. Exactly what you're saying, dude. It's like people write books on the principle that you're talking about and you've lived it. So that's awesome, dude. What are you most thankful for that paintball's given you?
Like work ethic. You know, going back to even Marcelo, we talk about this all the time because they're like, man, we've been, you know, we know we could maybe do more in another field, or like it maybe sometimes like halts like other avenues of career life. But what I'm most thankful for from paintball is just kind of like what it teaches you, you know, what it takes to achieve something that only like a very small percentage get, and that's like win a professional tournament, like everything, all the time that takes to get there. I think it translates into like whatever you're gonna do outside of that. Now I kind of have that knowledge of like, even if like when I go in to do something, I know it's going to be like a ton of work, and it leaves me humble and optimistic with whatever else I'm going to do. Just being like, I'm over that, or like, oh, this is stupid. Like, I don't have that perspective on things. I respect like everybody's craft and all the things that go, regardless like how small it is. It can be complicated, and you know, translating that work ethic is like big for me. And then obviously I'm the only child and just grew up with my mom, so like father figures and brotherly figures was huge for me. I don't know where I would be like if I didn't have all those you know, all the people that I met through paintball to help guide me.
Who are some of your father figures in paintball?
I would say like definitely, you know, I would kind of like hybrid them as both, but like Brandon Short, Ryan Greenspan, Alex Frazier. I don't know. It's kind of tough to like narrow it down. I think there's been like other people along the way, you know, like some of those guys with like the trauma and gridlock camp, like coaches. And then coaches now even too, like I give a lot of respect to like Dave Baines, Todd Martinez, you know, Skinny Kevin, Rusty Glaze, like a lot of those guys too, to see a different aspect of like from player coach relationship, and that like prestige that those coaches carry, can also like translate to helping like me be a better person too, and how I carry out my day-to-day stuff.
Awesome, dude. Well, Kyle, dude, thank you so much for your time here. Is there anything that you'd like to part with for the paintball community?
See you guys in Texas. Buy some Tigerwear. Buy some Shocker Empire AC Diesel stuff, and keep working.
Cool. Thanks, Kyle.
There you go. Watch the Spick Span show at Tuesdays.
Tuesdays.